That would have been sometime around 5:18 or 5:20 p.m. that you should have arrived at CVS, correct?
Right.
But you don't go in until 5:32 p.m., correct?
I don't know.
Are inconsistencies arising in Patrick Clancy's story?
Tell the jurors what the date was.
It's January 24th at 5:24.
And that was sent from your Surface Pro.
I don't know, actually. It could have been sent from my iPhone.
We're breaking down a complete timeline where Patrick Clancy was and when, the day his ex-wife killed their kids. This is Scandal, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Sierra Gillespie. The Lindsay Clancy case is taking the world by storm. The facts of this case, that 3 young children were strangled to death by their mother, are disturbing and devastating. But arguably, the online discourse is now focused more on Patrick Clancy, Lindsay's ex-husband and the father of her 3 kids. Online sleuths are now pointing to what they're calling alleged inconsistencies in the timeline the day of the children's deaths. And there's a long list of things that people are pointing to. For example, the theory of his outfit change, allegedly going from wearing boots and a half-zip jacket at CVS to tennis shoes and a full-zip jacket minutes later at the restaurant. But even after that, when Patrick testified he returned home, he said,
I started taking my boots off.
And that's just one example. Online discourse also points to the alleged missing 15 minutes. One Reddit user wrote, "His timeline, in my eyes, does not add up. The Massachusetts prosecutors went extensively through what his tasks were while he was away from the house. Patrick states he left the house at 5:15. He confirms the first stop is CVS. The prosecutors state that CVS is 3 minutes away from their home. So why did Patrick not appear in the store until 5:32 and out of the store by 5:37? There's 15 minutes that he's unaccounted for." And all of that, by the way, was discussed at length during Patrick's testimony.
And so you leave the house, you get into your car, and you drive to CVS, correct?
Correct.
And so that should have taken 3 minutes, correct?
Yep.
So after the text that was sent at 5:15 p.m., that would have been sometime around 5:18 or 5:20 p.m. that you should have arrived at CVS, correct?
Right.
But you don't go in until 5:32 p.m., correct?
I don't know.
Also, somewhere in this timeline, there's the discussion about an email sent from Patrick's Surface Pro.
You have an email sent from your, is it Surface Pro? Is that what it's called?
That was my laptop. Yeah.
But the email sent from his laptop was reportedly sent at 5:24 p.m. on January 24th, 8 minutes before he ever walked in to CVS. Clearly, there's a lot to unpack. We've had a lot of comments and discussions about Patrick's timeline, so we're going to break it all down for you right now. Let's start with the basics. Lindsay Clancy is charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of her 3 children, 5-year-old Cora, 3-year-old Dawson, and 8-month-old Callan. On January 24th, 2023, Lindsay reportedly used exercise bands to strangle each one of her kids in the basement of her Duxbury, Massachusetts home. She did this while her husband Patrick was allegedly out running errands. After that, she took some crushed up pills, slit her wrists and neck, and jumped out of a second-story window in an attempt to end her life. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts argues that Lindsay carried out cold and calculated murders, doing so when she was of sound mind. Her defense, however, argues Lindsay was in the midst of postpartum psychosis and that she suffered a mental break that led to her killing the kids. This case is interesting because the defense is arguing Lindsay isn't criminally responsible for murder, but they admit she killed the kids. It's not a classic whodunit. And yet, the narrative online says that it is. In fact, some people online speculate Patrick Clancy himself murdered the children and even convinced Lindsay that she was the one who did it. These people point to what they say are inconsistencies in his testimony and timeline the day the children were killed, arguing it's proof of their theories. And here's where I have to tell you, Patrick Clancy is not charged in the murders of his children. In fact, he's not charged in this case at all. By all accounts displayed at trial so far, Patrick has been cooperative with investigators since the day it happened, and honest about what happened too. So as far as we've heard, Patrick was never a suspect in this case, and still, trial watchers following this case have questions. So let's take a look at his timeline from start to finish the day the kids died. And for that, we actually have to start one day prior, on January 23rd, 2023.
That Monday, after her parents had gone home to Connecticut, so Monday the 23rd of January, did Cora and Dawson go to school?
Yeah.
And do you recall Lindsay picking them up that afternoon?
Yeah.
When Lindsay returned home with Cora and Dawson, did she discuss with you that Cora was having some stomach issues at school?
Yeah.
And were you familiar with the stomach issues that Cora had been having?
Yeah.
And did you have an idea of what was causing those stomach issues?
Yeah, it wasn't unusual. She was embarrassed to go to the bathroom at school, so she just held it all day.
Okay. And so this was a common occurrence?
Yeah.
This is an important setup for something that comes later. Cora had stomach issues and would later need stool softener, so remember that. Fast forward now to January 24th, 2023, the children's last day. And it begins normally.
Were you aware that Cora had her 5-year physical scheduled for the next day, Tuesday the 24th?
No, I didn't know that was already scheduled. I thought she called it in and set it up. So yeah, it's news to me.
Okay. So would it have been Lindsay who would make those kinds of appointments, the physicals and all of that?
She usually handled that, yeah.
Okay.
Cora's appointment was at 8 a.m. Lindsay drove Cora while Patrick stayed home with Dawson and Callan. The internet can sometimes be a scary place with data brokers and other harmful sites collecting and selling your private information. That's where Incogni comes in to help. The moment you sign up for Incogni, your data is being removed from over 420 data broker sites. They scan the web for your personal data and handle the removal process for you. Incogni also gives you actionable ways to control your data and track the removal progress. Incogni's new exposure scanner helps to find where you're exposed and bring it to you. You don't even have to go searching for the sites. Incogni does everything for you. You'll also receive a personalized report about your privacy progress every 30 days. I couldn't believe that many sites had my info. Thankfully, Incogni was automatically removing the data within days. They can't harm you if they can't find you. Use the code SCANDAL60 at the link below and get 60% off an annual plan. Incogni.com/scandal60.
And while you're with the boys and Lindsay's with Cora at the doctor's, are you sending text messages and photos back and forth?
Yeah.
And why did you send a photo of Dawson to Lindsay that morning?
Because he dressed himself completely for the first time.
And he was excited about that?
Yeah.
At 8:17 a.m., Patrick texted Lindsay this picture of Dawson. 1 minute later, at 8:18 a.m., Lindsay sent this photo of Cora in response. Both of these photos, by the way, have been admitted into evidence. And if you want to take a closer look at all the evidence files we've received so far in this case, it's just a click away. For behind every major scandal is a paper trail the public rarely gets to see. If you haven't heard yet, you can go beyond the headlines with case files on the Law&Crime Plus app. This is where you get direct access to the raw evidence, uncensored body camera recordings, crime scene images, video recordings of interrogations, and so much more. You can analyze the facts and uncover the truth for yourself. Plus, you get ad-free streaming of all your favorite law and crime and court TV shows. Unlock the evidence room today. Head over to lawandcrimeplus.com, enter promo code SCANDAL, and start your 30-day free trial. Now, Patrick says Lindsay's texts and photos that day seemed pretty normal.
And while you were texting with Lindsay back and forth, were you able to understand her text messages?
Yeah.
Did she seem to understand yours in response?
Yes.
This goes to the prosecution's theory that Lindsay was of sound mind the day of the alleged murders and acted with premeditation. But back to the timeline.
Did she return home?
Yes.
And do you recall around what time she got home that morning?
8:30.
And once she got home, what did you do?
I think I got ready for work.
And while you were downstairs working in your office, do you know what Lindsay and the kids were doing?
They built a snowman, and they did some art projects.
And how did you know this was happening?
She texted me a picture.
This is the photo that Lindsay texted Patrick while he was inside working and she was outside with the kids playing in the snow.
So Lindsay was continuing to text you and send you photographs throughout that day?
Yeah, and I went up to say hi at one point.
How often do you think or do you remember going upstairs that day to interact with Lindsay and the kids?
Once or twice. It was a busier day than usual.
And when you did come up to interact with them, how was Lindsay's mood?
She seemed happy.
Happy? And how could you tell that? What was she doing?
She was playing with the kids, and she seemed in a good mood.
At any point during that day when you came up or while she's texting you, did she tell you she was having suicidal thoughts?
No.
Did she tell you she was having thoughts of harming the kids?
No.
Did she ask for help or anything that caused concern?
No, she was having one of her best days.
One of her best days.
Patrick says there was no indication that Lindsay was having any sort of suicidal thoughts or mental health issues that day. He said everything seemed normal. The next stop on the timeline comes at 4:53 p.m.
Did you receive a text from Lindsay about dinner?
Yeah.
And do you recall what it said?
Something along the lines of, do you want to get takeout? I haven't planned anything.
Do you recall it saying, any chance you want to do takeout from 3V? I didn't cook anything. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
Had you been to 3V restaurant previously?
Yeah.
Alone or with the family?
With the family.
And approximately how many times had you been there to eat?
Probably 3 times.
And so you had all gotten in the car and driven from your home to 3V restaurant in Plymouth approximately 3 times?
Yeah, sometimes we were already out somewhere, but yeah.
Okay, but been there 3 times. Had you ever done takeout from there before?
No.
At this point, Patrick and Lindsay texted back and forth about the dinner plans and the kids.
So Lindsay suggested 3V and you agreed, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Did she send you another text at 4:56 p.m. asking you to take a look at the menu?
Yeah.
And did you send a text at 5:06 p.m. About Callan?
Yeah, I asked if he had taken a nap.
And did she respond?
Yeah.
And what was her response?
That it was a shorter nap and he was awake.
Okay. And at that time, did you also send a separate text asking what she was getting at 3V?
Yeah.
And what was her response?
I don't remember what she ordered.
Do you recall a Mediterranean power bowl?
Yeah, that sounds right.
And did she ask you what you were getting?
Yeah.
At 5:08, Patrick replied saying he planned to get scallop and pork belly risotto. He testified it was Lindsay who called the order into the restaurant.
Once the order was placed, what did you do?
I came upstairs. I took Callan for a minute, and I rocked him by my knees, kissed Cora on the head, and I said, I'll be right back.
And what was Dawson doing when you were leaving?
He was eating chicken nuggets on the couch.
And do you recall if he was using a bowl or a plate?
It was a bowl.
Do you remember what the defendants, well, first of all, where was the defendant seated when you left the house, or was she seated?
She was standing in the
And where
doorway.
was she?
In the doorway of the living room.
And was that the doorway by the front door or the doorway by the basement door?
It was the doorway by the basement door.
Okay. And did she have Callan or where was Callan?
She had Callan.
Okay. And what was her demeanor?
Normal.
During Patrick's testimony, prosecutors asked if there were other closer restaurants Patrick and Lindsay usually got takeout from more often. He said yes. Oftentimes they went somewhere in nearby Duxbury as opposed to the 3V restaurant in Plymouth. And the location of the restaurant is really important for the timeline. According to Google Maps, it's 5.7 miles away from the Clancy home. It should take around 11 minutes to get there. But in this case, Patrick didn't go straight to the restaurant.
As you're getting ready to leave the house to head out to get the takeout, did Lindsay say anything to you?
Nothing specific that I can recall, other than maybe goodbye.
Do you recall something about discussing something about CVS with her?
Yeah.
Okay. And what did she say about CVS?
She wanted me to pick up some stool softener for Cora.
And she hadn't mentioned that earlier in the text, correct?
Yeah, I don't think so.
So as you're leaving, she asked you to make a second or another stop while you're out. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And in response to that request, did you ask her to do something?
I don't remember.
I could show you page 77, lines 23 and 24, if you could just read those to yourself.
Yeah, I told her to text it to me, which she did.
I'm sorry, so that refresh your memory and
Yep.
asked her to text it to you?
Yep.
And did she do so?
She did.
And was that at approximately 5:15 p.m. that she texted PDLX?
Sounds correct.
Of the 2 stops on this errand run, Patrick says he went to CVS first.
And do you remember the route that you took to get there?
Yeah, I went out our driveway, took a right on Winter Street, and then took a left on the main road and went to CVS.
So it's a pretty direct route from your house to CVS?
Yeah.
Here's the map. Just going to have you look at the screen, if you would, to a map. And coming into this red dot here, is that the approximate location of your home at 47 Summer Street?
Yeah.
And then looking at this pink dot here next to Big Y, is that where the CVS is located?
Yes.
And that's the CVS you went to that night?
Yes.
About how long did it take you to get there?
3 minutes.
According to Google Maps, the CVS is 1.4 miles away from the Clancy home, just a 3-minute drive. And here's where some of the alleged inconsistencies come in. Patrick testified he left the Clancy home at about 5:15. If he went straight there to CVS, he would have arrived by 5:18 p.m. But Patrick doesn't actually go into the CVS until 5:32 p.m. We know that timestamp because it's caught on the CVS security camera. Online, people are referring to this as the missing 15 minutes. Technically, it would be only 14 minutes, but that's not the point here because it's not entirely missing. In fact, we know Patrick sent an email at 5:24 p.m., but once again, things get complicated. So let's start by talking about Patrick's Surface Pro. Here's an explainer from the defense questioning.
You have an email sent from your, is it Surface Pro? Is that what it's called?
That was my laptop. Yeah.
So it's established the Surface Pro is Patrick's computer, a physical computer as opposed to a phone. And it's this next piece of evidence that really has people scratching their heads.
Now, sir, Exhibit 76 is an email from you to, and we will going to delete the people that are on the email, if I may, Your Honor, as we mark it as an exhibit. Let me approach you. Does it indicate the date and the time? On the very top, you sent that email to your staff members or people that work with you.
It does. Yep.
Tell the jurors what the date was.
It's January 24th at 5:24.
And that was sent from your Surface Pro?
I don't know, actually. It could have been sent from my iPhone.
Online discourse has suggested Patrick may have sent that 5:24 email from his home, meaning his timeline wouldn't add up as he testified he left home at 5:15 p.m. And this is something the Commonwealth addressed on redirect.
Mr. Clancy, you were shown an email, and it's been marked as an exhibit that you sent to coworkers on January 24th, 2023 at 5:24 p.m., correct?
Yeah.
And you were asked about it coming from the Surface Pro, but your testimony was that it could have come from your iPhone, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, you watched footage earlier of yourself going into the CVS in Kingston at 5:32 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And you had your phone with you, correct, because you used it? And we also saw you on the 3V footage using your phone as well, correct?
Right.
So you were clearly out of the house at 5:24 p.m., correct?
Sorry, what time did you say I was at CVS?
So you walked in at 5:32 p.m., correct?
Correct.
And you left the house. As you were leaving the house, Lindsay sent you the text about PDLX, correct?
I don't know if I had left the house yet, but yeah.
But that was sent at 5:15 p.m., correct?
Right.
And how far away is the Kingston CVS?
3 minutes.
Okay. And so you leave the house, you get into your car, and you drive to CVS, correct?
Correct.
And so that should have taken 3 minutes, correct?
Yep.
So after the text that was sent at 5:15 p.m., that would have been sometime around 5:18 or 5:20 p.m. that you should have arrived at CVS, correct?
Right.
But you don't go in until 5:32 p.m., correct?
I don't know.
We could
I don't know what time I pulled in the parking lot.
I'm not asking you what time you pulled into the parking lot, but is it fair to say that the video that you were shown earlier shows you entering the store at 5:32 p.m.?
Yes.
So from the time you should have been at the parking lot of CVS around 5:20 p.m. until 5:32 p.m., could you have been in your car sending this email on your iPhone?
Yeah, I just don't know if I pulled into the parking lot at 5:20.
But sometime after the text was sent from Lindsay about PDLX, but before 5:32 p.m., you were in your car.
Security camera video shows Patrick enter the CVS at 5:32 p.m. on January 24th, 2023.
I'm going to ask you to look at the video here. Is that you entering the store?
Yeah.
Okay. And that section you head to on the right, is that the pediatric medication section?
Yeah.
Okay. And while you're in that section, looking for the medication, do you do something?
I called Lindsay.
I have to pause to note something important. Pay close attention to what Patrick is wearing. It appears to be brown boots and a half-zip jacket. After Patrick heads inside to the pediatric section, he calls Lindsay at 5:33 p.m.
Why did you call Lindsay?
Because what we were looking for wasn't there. The shelves were pretty empty. It was still during COVID.
I'm sorry, what?
It was during COVID, so
Okay, so, and was that call at about approximately 5:33 p.m.?
yeah.
Okay. And then, did she answer the call?
Yes.
She entered when you called her?
Actually, I think she didn't at first. She called back.
Okay. And did you receive a call back from her about a minute later at 5:34 p.m.?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And can you describe that phone call for us?
It was very brief. I just said, I think there was a generic brand, and I said, is this one okay? And she said, yeah, that's fine.
And what was her demeanor during the call?
She was pretty quiet. It sounded like she was busy. I remember hanging up thinking she's probably in the middle of giving baths or something like that.
So it sounded to you like she was in the middle of something?
Yeah.
Were you able to understand her when she spoke to you?
Yeah.
And did she seem to understand what you were saying?
Yes.
And she didn't seem to have any trouble recalling why you were at CVS or what you were looking for?
That's correct.
Prosecutors allege that when Patrick said Lindsay sounded like she was in the middle of something, she was actually in the middle of killing their children. Patrick left CVS at 5:37 p.m. after purchasing the stool softener and a pack of Skittles. From there, he headed to the 3V restaurant. Per Google Maps, that's a 4.5-mile drive.
After you had made your purchases at CVS, where did you go next?
To 3V.
And do you remember the route you took to get there?
Yeah, I think I got on Route 3 South for just one exit, and then I got off and went straight to 3V.
And showing you the map again here on the screen, this green dot here here on the bottom, is that where 3V restaurant is located?
Yeah.
Google suggests it would take about 11 minutes, but Patrick got there in only about 7 minutes, arriving at 5:54 p.m.
And when you got to the 3V restaurant, did you go inside?
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask you to watch the video on screen. At 5:54:15 p.m., is that you coming in behind that other couple there?
Yeah.
And what are you doing at that point when you're looking at the bags?
I think I was looking for the bag with my name on it.
This security camera video shows Patrick entering the 3V restaurant. Eagle-eyed viewers suggested Patrick has changed his jacket and his shoes. It now appears he's wearing a full zip jacket and tennis shoes instead of brown boots. And there are a lot of explanations here. I mean, maybe the security camera video had a different filter or lighting than the CVS. Maybe it just looks like they're different shoes. Or maybe they really are different shoes. I mean, what if Patrick's boots got wet? He had an extra pair of sneakers in his car that he changed into. We don't know what happened, if he was wearing the same shoes or not. But what we do know is that it wasn't addressed in his testimony. But another mystery at the 3V restaurant was addressed.
Do you recall what you're doing on your phone at that time?
I don't. It could be work-related, it could be anything.
Once again, the Commonwealth points to Lindsay's alleged sound mind leading up to the children's deaths, that she was able to successfully order food off the menu.
And the order that was listed under your name and phone number, correct?
I think Lindsay ordered it.
Right, but do you recall whose name it was under when you picked it up?
I don't recall specifically, but it could have been mine.
Show you a receipt here from 3V Restaurant for Mediterranean Powerball and scallop and pork belly risotto. You could just look at the name and the number on the receipt.
Yeah, that's my name and my number.
So that's your phone number?
Yep.
Okay. So although the defendant called in the order, your name and phone number were given and were given accurately, is that correct?
Correct.
After he picked up the food, Patrick headed home. Once again, per Google Maps, that's 5.7 miles.
And do you recall the route you took home?
Probably the same route, one exit on the highway, and then went home.
Okay. Do you recall approximately how long it took you to get home?
I would guess 10 to 12 minutes.
Okay. When you arrived home, where did you park?
In the driveway.
Per Patrick's own testimony, he was wearing boots when he arrived home.
And then that window on the far left there, is that the kitchen?
Yeah.
And on the far left of the photo where the sliding glass doors are, where does that lead into?
There's like a room off of the kitchen where there's a kitchen table.
When you got home and you parked your truck, how did you get into the home?
I went in through that side door.
The door that was to the left of the garage?
Yeah.
And what did you do once you got inside the home?
I started taking my boots off.
And did you have some bags with you from CVS and 3V?
Yeah.
Where did you place those?
On the kitchen island.
It seems like this is the moment where everything changed for Patrick.
When you came into the house and you were taking off your boots and putting things down, was there anything you noticed?
Yeah, the house was really quiet.
Was that unusual?
Yeah.
And when you realized it was really quiet, what did you do?
I called out
And who did you call out to?
everyone.
Did anyone answer?
No.
After you called out and no one answered, what did you do next?
I think I don't know the order, but I called down in the basement, and no one answered. And then I called Lindsay to see if she was home, because I looked out and I couldn't see her car, but it's because it was dark and her car's black.
Okay, so when you say you called down to the basement, when you approached the basement door, do you remember if it was open or shut?
It was shut.
So did you open it and yell down?
Yeah,
And there was no response?
correct.
And showing you a photo here, is that a fair and accurate depiction of the stairway down to the basement level?
Yeah.
We could have this marked as the next exhibit, please.
That may be admitted.
Do you recall when you opened the door to yell down whether the light was on or off?
Yeah, it was on, but Lindsay always left the light on.
At 6:09 p.m., Patrick called Lindsay's cell phone, but she didn't answer.
And so after you called Lindsay and didn't get a response, what did you do next?
I started checking upstairs.
And where did you check upstairs?
First, the bathroom. I thought maybe they were taking baths, but there's no one there.
And then where did you go?
The kids' bedrooms.
Was there anyone in the kids' bedrooms?
No.
And then did you go to your bedroom?
Yeah.
And were you able to get into your bedroom right away?
No, the door was locked, and that's when I knew something was wrong.
Patrick says he knew something was really wrong when the door to the master bedroom was locked. He pushed his way in and came across a shocking scene.
When you unlocked the door to your bedroom, did you go in?
Yeah.
And what did you see when you opened the door and went in?
I just saw blood everywhere, and the window is open.
And showing you here a photo, is this the bed in your bedroom?
Yeah.
Now, the way the bed is in this photo, kind of pulled away from the wall and slightly askew or at an angle, is that the way it was typically?
No.
And when you left the bedroom that day for the last time prior to coming home later that night, was the bed in that position?
I don't think so.
Patrick testified the window was open and cold air was coming through it.
Sir, after making those observations in the bedroom, what did you do next?
I ran downstairs and went outside.
And do you recall whether you went out the front door or the back door?
I went out the back door.
So that would be the sliders, is that right?
Yeah.
And where did you go from there?
I just looked around in the backyard below that window, and I saw Lindsay.
And where did you see her?
She was face up in the backyard,
And where in the backyard was she?
at the bottom of the window.
Patrick says he found Lindsay directly below the window with severe injuries.
And did you observe any injuries?
Yes.
And what did you see?
She had deep cuts on her wrists, and she had a red line across her neck. I wasn't sure what it was at first, but she cut her neck. Yeah, I said, "What happened?"
And what was her response?
She said, "I tried to kill myself."
Did you ask her anything else?
I said, "Where are the kids?"
And what was her response?
She said, "They're in the basement."
And at that time, she didn't tell you that they needed help or they were in danger or they were injured, correct?
Correct.
Patrick isn't sure when he called 911, but he says it was at some point after he found Lindsay.
I don't know the exact time, but it took a few minutes because my phone was switching between Wi-Fi and 911. So I almost just started calling out for the neighbors, but eventually it went through.
Okay. So you had some difficulty connecting, but eventually you connected to the 911 operator?
Yeah.
Okay. And did you stay on the phone with them while they were sending people to respond?
Yeah.
Okay. While you're on the phone with 911, are they asking you questions and you're responding with information about her condition?
Yeah.
And if you could just look at the screen here, is this the model of the first floor of your home?
Yes.
And so we have here the sliding glass doors. Where would the basement door be in this model?
Directly below the stairs.
So now that it's flipped around, is this the door to the basement right here?
Yeah.
For the record, that's the door across from the downstairs bathroom.
Yeah.
And then, how long approximately, and I know you weren't looking at your watch or anything like that, but can you estimate for us how long it took for first responders to arrive?
4 or 5 minutes.
Okay. And during that time, are you continuing to try to talk to Lindsay?
Yeah.
Is she responding?
She was in and out of consciousness.
Okay. Was she breathing on her own?
I believe so.
Okay. And you're communicating information to the 911 operators, and are they giving you, advice on how to deal with the situation as it progresses?
Yeah.
We were court ordered not to record or live stream the 911 call Patrick made that evening. Only the people inside the courtroom at the time it was played were able to hear it. One such person is our director of photography, Richie Morgenstern.
So the call starts off with him talking and kind of having his wife in the background. Obviously, you can't see anything. It's just a 911 call. And he's like talking to his wife, and you can hear his wife. You could tell that she had some liquid in her throat, like as far as like she was kind of like the way her voice was coming out was more of like, it was more sounds than actual words. And he's like, what do you mean they're in the basement? And so he heads down to the basement, and this is where you just hear that first sound. I wouldn't even want to even try and I couldn't even want to even try making that sound, I don't, but it's the sound of somebody's heart breaking, that's for sure. And he's going through the room and he's talking to dispatch, but he doesn't have the ability to actually say full words. So you can hear maybe he says the first name of his baby, and then it's just more like vowel sounds. And it just kind of gets worse and worse. And then you hear him say something along the lines of, she killed the babies. And then the dispatch is like, whoa. What do you mean? You hear the dispatch talking to somebody else in the room around him or something. She killed the babies? And then, I mean, I'd have to say some of us, including myself, might even blacked out to what we were hearing, because I'm having trouble recalling some of it because of, I can just hear his primal scream that he was making. It really kind of shocks you when it hits you.
Once emergency personnel arrive, what do?
I immediately got up and ran to the basement.
Okay. And do you still have the phone on you? You're still on the 911 call?
Yeah, I didn't realize it at the time, but I did.
So when you come down those stairs that night, which direction did you go?
I immediately went left.
And when you went left, what did you see?
I saw Cora.
And how did she look?
She had a band around her neck.
And was that an exercise band?
Yeah.
And do you recall whether she was, what position she was in, whether face up or face down?
She's face down.
And when you saw her in that condition, what did you do?
I immediately ran over and tried to take the band off.
Were you able to get the band off?
Yeah.
And do you recall how you got the band off?
I think I untied it.
And when you say untied it, was it in a knot that you had to, put everything down and unknot it, or how was it tied?
I'm not sure I fully remember.
Do you recall describing it previously as when you initially tie your shoes but then don't do the bow?
Yeah, that sounds right.
And was she responsive?
No.
And what did you see or do next?
I saw Callan
And where was he?
He was next to her.
And how did he appear?
He had a band around his neck.
Sorry?
He had a band around his neck.
And did you remove that as well?
Yeah.
And do you recall what position he was in?
Same as Cora.
And looking at the model here, if you could just tell us, where was Cora?
The left of the couch.
So would that be this area here that I'm pointing to, in between the bureau and the couch?
Yeah.
And where was Callan?
To her left.
So would that be more over here towards the chair and the bureau?
Yeah.
After you removed the band from Callan's neck, what did you do next?
I tried to find Dawson.
And where did you go?
I looked in the bathroom and on the other side of the couch, and then I went to the other side of the basement, and he was in my office.
And when you saw Dawson, what condition was he in?
I knew he was gone.
And did he also have a band around his neck?
Yeah.
And did you remove that band?
Yeah.
And looking at the office here, where was he located within the office?
Just to the left of the door when you went in.
Just in this area here, right inside the door?
Yeah.
Patrick testified he was back and forth during this time trying to help all of the kids. Eventually, he says first responders led him upstairs away from the scene.
Cora, Dawson, and Callan removed from the home and taken to a hospital.
Yeah.
Was that Beth Israel Deaconess in Plymouth?
Yeah.
Did you also go to that location?
Yeah.
And at the hospital, were you able to see your children?
Yeah.
And was Callan then transported to Children's Hospital?
Yeah.
Dawson and Cora were pronounced dead that day on January 24th, 2023. Callan was taken off life support days later on January 27th, 2023. And that is it. Patrick Clancy's entire timeline that we know of the day of the kids' deaths. And now it's time to dig even deeper into all of this. So let's bring on today's guest, who's been extensively following this case. It's trial attorney Alexis Rosenberg, a friend of the show. Alexis, thank you for coming on Scandal with us today.
Thank you for having me, as always.
And I have to ask you, I've been kind of surprised going into this trial that so many people are talking about Patrick Clancy and pointing the finger at him. It's just not something I expected. What's your reaction to all that?
I have to tell you, when I first heard this buzz all over the internet, and I mean, it really has gotten a lot of traction. I mean, if you're on there and people truly believe he did it. And when I first heard it, I was like, you know, this is just people not able to wrap their brain around something that totally doesn't make sense. How a mother could kill her 3 young children in the manner that she did. But I got to tell you, once I started doing a little deep dive into the timeline and the different things, I can see where they're coming from.
Yeah, and I mean, I tend to agree with you, actually, because at first I was like, wait a minute, why are people attacking this husband who's gone through so much? I mean, he found his children. And then when you talk about the changing of the shoes, the missing 15 minutes, there's a lot going on here. So let's talk about that. The thing that people are talking about a lot is the change in the shoes, that he was apparently wearing boots at the CVS, which he went to first. And then it looks like he's wearing tennis shoes at the 3V restaurant that he went to, you know, a couple of minutes later. What do you make of that? Do you think that that's decent evidence to prove he changed his shoes?
Well, I mean, first of all, we're in Massachusetts. It's snowy. It's cold. It's not unheard of people having other pairs of shoes if one gets wet in their car. But I kept looking at that video and looking at that video, and I'm not so sure. I'm not 100% that they're different shoes. I think it might be a different angle, a different shadowing on the shoes. You know, some people are saying that it's a different person, that they think it was like a friend of his. But I'm not 100% sure, because the video is a little grainy because it's a surveillance video.
Yeah, it's tricky. I was zooming in on both of them side by side on my computer, and the CVS is really bright in there, and then the restaurant is a lot more dim, just probably for like the mood lighting of like a cute restaurant at night. So definitely the lighting is different. So that could be it. Maybe they have different security cams that kind of have a different filter. So unclear if they're the same pair of shoes, if he changed. I know that he did testify when he got home. Okay, I took off my boots, he said. So, okay, if we set the boots, the shoes, the whatever aside, there's something that's pretty glaring that a lot of people just can't get past. And this is the email from the Surface Pro that comes in at 5:24 p.m. Okay, what do you make of this? I mean, he says, oh, I could have sent it from my iPhone, I could have sent it from my cell phone, but the Surface Pro says that it was at his home at the time. So what do you make of that?
Well, I'm no IT expert. However, it's my understanding that just like when you send, unless you change it on your iPhone, it's going to say it's sent from your iPhone. Now, obviously, you can change, like on my iPhone, it has my actual, signature block that I have put in there. And on a Surface Pro, I'm going to assume that it's similar, that it's factory, that it's going to say that it's from the Surface Pro, and it is not, unless you alter that. I don't know anybody. I guess it's not impossible to put on your phone as sent by from the Surface Pro. I don't know why you would do that. It doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, that is a little suspicious. I mean, he could have had the Surface Pro in the car, but that wasn't his testimony, and then sent it like through a hotspot, the email from his Surface Pro in the car. But that, once again, that's not his testimony. So it does conflict. We also have to take into consideration, this is a very traumatic, even though a lot of people are upset that they feel like he wasn't reacting the way they thought he should on the stand. But it is a very traumatic situation. And when people are coming out of or in a traumatic situation, their memory may not be specific. Like with the boots, saying boots, it's kind of like people saying soda and calling everything Coke, right? So, right. I mean, is that what he referred to as shoes? I don't know, but I'm not sure why the police didn't investigate that, because that really does affect the timeline.
Okay, I have to ask about this too, because so many people are pointing to the Surface Pro, the missing 15 minutes. And we saw this on Patrick's redirect, where the prosecutor was kind of going back and forth and talking about, he was like, I don't know what time I pulled into the driveway or the parking lot of CVS. And she's like, okay, but you didn't go in until 5:32. But this email was sent at 5:24. They kind of went back and forth, and he was like, I'm not sure what time I went in. Now, there's a couple of things that could go into this. I mean, one, you mentioned the trauma. This was a really devastating day for him. Maybe he blocked things out. Two, this is 3.5 years ago. At the time when he's going to CVS, he's thinking he's just going to pick up some stool softener and he gets some Skittles. Like for me, the last time I went to CVS, I don't know how long I was there, what time I walked in, etc. Obviously, we have the timestamps because of the security cam. But do you think the 3.5 years of it all, plus the trauma, could make his testimony, I don't want to say inconsistent or unreliable, but difficult to remember back to that exact moment?
Well, Sierra, every time you go to CVS, you don't stop and look at the clock when you go in and out.
No, I can't say I do.
In general, I mean, overall, not just this situation, anytime as attorneys we have witnesses and we have a time, a big time gap, their recollection isn't going to be as strong as closer in time. And that's humans in general. That's not whether there's a traumatic situation or not. About that. So saying that he doesn't know what time he pulled up to CVS and what time he left CVS, that doesn't cause any concern. Now, if he was sitting in the car for 15 minutes, maybe he didn't know he was sitting in there for 15 minutes, but he should be able to testify, yeah, I pulled up and I sat there for a couple minutes and listened to music because it was a stressful situation, or I got on the laptop that I brought in the car, the Surface Pro, and sent out an email, or whatever it is. Now, obviously, if it was like 2 minutes where you're just kind of, I don't know, getting yourself together, that you may not remember in that situation.
But the missing 15 minutes, that's what people are going back to, because to your point, I mean, maybe it took a hot second to get out of the car. If it's cold, maybe he's putting on a jacket. Who knows what's going on? If it's 2 minutes, whatever. But 15 is a pretty big time gap. And a lot of people online are saying, what was Patrick Clancy doing in those 15 minutes? Is he somehow responsible for what happened to the children? And I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying that's what people are saying online. So I have to wonder, why didn't investigators take a closer look at the 15 minutes? Would that have been a red flag for you?
Well, I mean, online they're saying because it's Massachusetts.
Fair enough.
But I mean, here's the thing. His timeline is the whole timeline is important, but also ruling him out. The police need to rule out the father, the husband in the situation, and ruling him out. Yeah, they need to make that timeline. That timeline is very important. And it doesn't seem that there has really been an explanation for the timeline, because also the timeline related to the actual murders, it's a pretty tight timeline in itself. So ruling out, what may have been other factors. I mean, it could simply have been, and we don't know, there hasn't been testimony as full disclosure about this, but it could have been he was in the house for maybe the first of the murders. And he didn't, obviously we're not saying that he knew this was going on necessarily, but he was in the house for that, and that would play into the timeline. But that missing 15 minutes, and I think the police basically wrote it off as maybe there was a little more traffic or something of that nature. We really haven't gotten a clear explanation as to that 15 minutes.
And I also have to wonder too, I mean, we as internet sleuths or people who are watching this, we can go back, rewind in the live stream, we can watch all of these clips, we can really dissect it and take a closer look. But the jurors, the ones who are going to decide Lindsay Clancy's fate, they are instructed specifically, you can't watch the news about this, you can't do any outside research. They also, I mean, they did do the jury view, but beyond that, you can't go driving to this CVS and clocking on your phone how long it'll take. None of that stuff is allowed. So I have to wonder, while the online community is talking about all of this, do you think the jurors are even kind of clocking this as going on?
I don't know that they're clocking it to this extent, especially like the shoes and all of those,
Right.
those various things. I think that the timeline, they're going to, I do think there's going to be discussion about the timeline. And even if it's not necessarily having to do with what's required to prove this case, or, find her not guilty by insanity, but out of curiosity. Because even myself, and I'm sure you did the same thing, this timeline is really tight. I mean, it's extremely tight. And her attorney has kind of gotten into that. There was, he was asking about the fact that Patrick had traveled before. Patrick had gone off with one of the children before. That there was a lot of opportunity for this to take place, the killing of these children. Now, that kind of is like counter to the argument that she basically snapped and killed, right? Because that kind of sort of he's balancing between like it was planned, and he's knocking out that first degree intentional murder aspect of it by saying, listen, if it was planned, then she could have done it all these other times. So that kind of goes more towards she snapped. But the timeline when you break it down, the no DNA, I mean, the timeline with the fact that to be able to kill 3 human beings in this short period of time, and then to slit her neck and cut her wrist, move a bed and jump out of a window and be laying there for a while. Now to say we're trying to make sense, we're doing a timeline for somebody who had what I do believe she snapped, and I think to try to put, sanity to something that's insane doesn't work. Because if you have someone who is snapped and they're manic and they're doing this, I guess it could fit into that timeline, but it's a tight timeline.
And, I have thought about that because I've covered a lot of true crime cases. You have too. I've had you on many times. And I always talk about strangulation being so intimate because, first of all, you have to be very close between the perpetrator and the victim. But second of all, it isn't instantaneous like a gunshot to the head. It takes time. You have to do it consistently. I believe it's 5 to 8 minutes. So that's 3 children. And then after that, like you said, move the bed, jump out the window, slit the wrists, all of those things. So it's a very, very tight timeline. And you brought up Kevin Reddington, her defense attorney, and he's kind of said from the beginning, she did this, but she's not criminally responsible. That's their whole theory here. She didn't know what she was doing. She snapped at the time. It was psychosis. But do you think if there actually was enough proof about Patrick Clancy that he would change things up? I mean, we saw this. There was a TikTok of a woman who worked at McLean who talked about, the different staffing around the holidays, etc. He's trying to have her included as a witness now. So do you think if there actually was enough evidence against Patrick, he would switch things up?
I don't know that he would, you mean go try for a complete acquittal? I guess if there's enough evidence that's coming out, he could switch and say that ask for a complete not guilty. The issue is that I think that's going to be hard for the jury because, like you just brought up, Sierra, very good point. They're not hearing all of this stuff, so they only have what's in front of them, and they don't have all this other noise. So I don't know, to switch a jury like that midway is going to be really difficult because it's already been presented to them that she did it. I mean, to the point where, Kevin Reddington was trying to get the prosecution to stipulate to the fact that she did it. And they were saying that they weren't going to because they wanted all this gruesome stuff put out in front of the jury, which they wouldn't be able to. So, but there's also the individual that's bringing up the point that on the internet that, and I don't remember his name, that said, like, for instance, that Patrick said that she said that kids were in the basement, but her windpipe, there's, now the testimony's come out that her there was compromised and she wasn't able to talk to anybody. So how was she able to talk to him? And then we also, we also have, there just is a lot of inconsistencies in his story, and I'm having a hard time believing that he did this, and I'm not even sure he knew the now wife. I think they met after the fact. They're trying to make it was for her, and I just don't. And some people are saying the friend was part of it, and he was the one that was walking in CVS and into the restaurant. And I think that we're trying to, and I think there's definitely inconsistencies in his story, for sure. But I also think this was very traumatic. But I think that we're really trying to take someone who had mentally snapped, and we're trying to say, okay, an individual who was sane, it would have taken, like you said, 8 minutes to do this. And I want to compare it to someone like you hear, like under extreme stress, like there's a child under a car and all of a sudden a mother can lift the car. Right. Nobody can explain that, right? It wasn't like she's training to lift cars and she was in Iron Man. She just does that in that moment. Her body allows her to do that. And so I think that might be the situation here. I mean, they're bringing up the watch too, right? That the watch was taken off. She slit her wrist. So, I guess she could have left the watch on to slit her wrist, but it makes more sense. It's on your wrist. You're going to take the watch off.
Right. There's so many different avenues that you can go down. You brought up like 3 different potential conspiracy theories that people have here. And I think you're right. It's just that everybody's trying to make sense of it all. And I guess I'm going to ask you this last question because I had a viewer just reach out to me and she was talking about some of the conspiracies, talking about how she thought maybe Patrick did it. And she said, I just haven't seen anywhere where they've said that Lindsay did it. And I replied and said, well, opening statements, they said that. And the plea itself that she's not criminally responsible, Kevin Reddington is admitting Lindsay Clancy did this, but she wasn't criminally responsible because the allegation that she had postpartum psychosis at the time. So if viewers who are watching all of this are confused about that, do you think it's going to be difficult for the jury to wrap their minds around it? I know that they're, doing their due diligence and they're of course going to have jury instructions, but is it going to be complicated when it comes time for deliberations?
Well, they're going to get an instruction. Not guilty by reason of insanity is difficult for a jury all over to wrap their head around. I mean, because let's face it, most people that are in prison have mental illness. So, that's a hard concept. But there's going to be jury instructions, and hopefully in closing, Kevin is going to go through this as part of his closing argument. I'm going to assume, because he's a very good attorney. But the key is not guilty. Right? Not guilty.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then the second part is by reason of insanity. So this is going to have to be cleared up on closing. And I definitely think Kevin Remington is going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself going into deliberation already because we're not even in the defense's case in chief, but I'm interested to see how this shakes up. And I know you've been covering this from the start. So Alexis, I'd love to have you back on as this case progresses and we can dive even deeper into the details.
I would love to do that.
We'll continue to follow this case and bring you the latest updates right here on Scandal. And for the complete live coverage of the trial, make sure to tune into Law&Crime, where we're streaming the case with gavel to gavel coverage. And that is where today's episode of Scandal leaves us for now. If you like what you saw and you want to see more or connect with me on social media, you can find me on places like Instagram at Sierra Gillespie. Thanks for watching today's episode of Scandal. As always, I'm your host, Sierra Gillespie, and I'll see you next time.